When exploring Nietzsche's philosophy, we might ask ourselves a crucial question. Is the Overman a mere fictional concept, or is it an attainable human ideal? Most of us wonder about the necessary stages required to reach this ideal. The absence of concrete examples leaves us uncertain about the feasibility of this journey. This lack of clarity may lead to confusion and potential discouragement, hindering our ability to know how far we are from or how close we may be to embodying the Overman. Thus, the need for clarification becomes paramount. Fortunately, in Nietzsche's book, Spoke Zarathustra, he provides valuable insights to understand this path. At the beginning of the book, Zarathustra introduces the three metamorphoses of the spirit, which is essentially a three-stage human development theory that explains the necessary evolution of the spirit to achieve this Nietzschean ideal. Nietzsche's allegory unfolds in three distinct stages, each symbolically represented by different creatures. The initial stage features a camel, followed by a lion in the second stage, and ultimately culminating in a child in the final stage. Each stage represents a phase in the individual's quest for a higher form of existence, leading to a life-affirming attitude and the ability to create one's values. This symbolism illustrates Nietzsche's profound insights into the complexities of human nature and human psychology. So let's get into it. What are the essential stages of development that give rise to Nietzsche's ideal? What is difficult? Asks the spirit that would bear much, and kneels down like a camel wanting to be well loaded. What is most difficult, O heroes? Asks the spirit that would bear much, that I may take it upon myself and exult in my strength. All these most difficult things the spirit that would bear much takes upon itself, like the camel that, burdened, speeds into the desert. Thus the spirit speeds into its desert. Friedrich Nietzsche, Thus Spoke Zarathustra. The first metamorphosis symbolizes obedience and conformity. Nietzsche portrays the camel as a beast of burden, carrying the weight of others' belongings. The camel, known for its ability to carry heavy loads, represents the individual who accepts the values of others without questioning or challenging them. This could be religious values, cultural values, or political ideas. In this stage, people willingly bear the burdens imposed by societal norms, traditions, and moral codes. As you've become more familiar with Nietzsche's philosophy, you can probably guess that his main concern here pertains to values, especially moral ones. In the early stages of human development, there is a pervasive tendency to conform to external influences, primarily from parents and then from society at large. This conformity is evident in how people adopt prescribed ways of thinking, acting, and being. During childhood, for instance, one often follows the guidance of parents, accepting their notions of right and wrong, good and bad, or good and evil. According to psychologists and sociologists, we integrate into society by learning from our parents, family, and then from our peers in school, which leads to this tendency of conformity. The issue is that most people continue to maintain this mindset throughout their lives, thus remaining stagnant and obedient like camels. We're behaving how others want us to behave, not how we ought to behave. In today's world, people largely prefer belonging to an idea or a group rather than standing out as a unique individual in the crowd. This preference for conformity can be attributed to several factors, such as the need for acceptance, the fear of rejection, and the desire for a sense of identity and belonging. Indeed, this conformity provides a sense of security and belonging, but eventually restricts the freedom of the spirit. While the camel phase is often associated with negative and blind conformity, it can also be viewed positively as a type of adherence to a higher cause. This could be an ethical code like Stoicism, or pursuing a religious vocation like priesthood or a monastic life. These examples aim at enhancing one's life and dedicating it to something greater. Regardless of the form of conformity, whether to a higher cause or to societal norms, Nietzsche sees the camel as the lowest stage of spiritual development. And we can clearly see that with the choice of the animal, the camel. Because when we first look at this animal, we can find many positive traits, like that the animal is endurant, has a lot of strength and will, and has many positive traits that we can take from the creature. However, Nietzsche chooses the one trait that makes the camel a bad representation for the spirit: obedience and conformity. So this means, in Nietzsche's view, that you can have all the good traits, but if you're obedient and you have a tendency of conformity, then you're still at the lowest level of spiritual development. Thus, this level of the camel is the furthest level from the Overman. In the loneliest desert, however, the second metamorphosis occurs. Here the spirit becomes a lion who would conquer his freedom and be master in his own desert. Here he seeks out his last master. He wants to fight him and his last god. For ultimate victory, he wants to fight with the great dragon. Thus spoke Zarathustra. In this stage, the lion represents a spirit of rebellion. Unlike the camel, the lion takes on the role of a predator, which symbolizes assertiveness and independence. The lion embodies a spirit of defiance and nonconformity, a radical shift from the docile and differential tendencies of the camel. The predator rejects the constraints of societal expectations and challenges established norms. This stage is characterized by a fierce determination to break free from the limitations imposed by external influences. The lion seeks to assert its values and desires, rejecting the preconceived notions that have shaped its identity during the camel phase. From a practical perspective, personal evolution starts when one becomes tired of carrying others' burdens. This could happen suddenly through a significant life event, or it could also happen gradually. When you've had enough of being a carrier, you slowly wake up to the reality of the situation and start taking action to transform into something greater. This marks the point where an individual becomes mature enough to question the existing state of affairs. With newfound strength, the spirit is ready to say no and assert itself. The lion is now strong enough to face the dragon, a major obstacle to the freedom it seeks. In Nietzsche's allegory, the dragon represents institutions that dictate societal moral laws and values, governing our actions and defining our identities, such as the church, governments, or even parents. The main challenge in rebellion is that when we oppose something and say no, we need to be sure that we know what we want. In other words, opposing something implies that we may eventually be questioned about our desires, and it's crucial to have a well-defined answer. This means that we need to be sure of the reason of opposition and rebellion. Rebellion isn't merely an act for its own sake. Instead, it is a means to bring forth something that we genuinely desire. Otherwise, we risk falling into a relentless cycle and transforming into the exact opposite of what we originally rebelled against. In this situation, there's a potential danger if rebellion becomes a defining paradigm or a central aspect of one's identity, because we might find ourselves paradoxically defined by what we are rebelling against. For instance, if one rebels against the values and lifestyle of their parents, they might unknowingly adopt an inverted form of their parents' beliefs, still allowing external influences to shape their identity. In other words, regressing to the camel phase. The danger lies in becoming trapped in a reactive stance against external forces, leading to a perpetual struggle without a clear sense of purpose. According to Nietzsche, living in opposition to existing norms, even if it seems like a form of independence at first, may not lead to an authentic discovery and creation of one's values. In some sense, we are still defined by something that we haven't created ourselves, and thus only adopted by default. In that case, the rebels must go beyond merely opposing established norms and move toward a stage of self-discovery and creation. And this is the third stage of the spirit, characterized by the child. This is where the creation of new values and true independence takes place. The role of the lion is crucial, but remains an intermediary role. It destroys, but it doesn't create. However, this destruction is paramount for clearing the ground for new creation. The lion's objective is to make space for what is to come. As Nietzsche says, the role of the lion isn't to create new values, but to create itself freedom for new creation. A coming to be and a passing away, a building up and a tearing down, without any moral glossing, in innocence that is forever equal. In this world it belongs only to the play of artists and children, and as the child and the artist plays, so too plays the ever-living fire. It builds up and it tears down, in innocence. Such is the game that the aeon plays with itself. Friedrich Nietzsche, thus spoke Zarathustra. Now we approach the third and final stage of Nietzsche's framework, the child. The child signifies a transcendent state of playful creativity and innocence. The child is characterized by spontaneity, playfulness, and a sense of wonder. It represents a liberated spirit that has overcome the burdens of conformity and rebellion, achieving a state of self-affirmation and self-expression. The child creates its values, unburdened by external influences, and embraces life with a sense of joy and authenticity. Creation is inherent to a child's nature, and the act of creating is innocent. This is what defines a child. In this perspective, the intention of creation is creation itself. In this stage, being a child is not about adhering to pre-existing moral standards or rebelling against them, but about authenticity and self-discovery. In this context, creating your values means embracing the aspects of yourself that align with societal norms while acknowledging and celebrating any deviations that make you unique. And the child strikes the perfect balance. The balance of being authentic without being a social outcast and fitting in without being too obedient. We can take moral values as a concrete example. The obedient camel strictly adheres to societal standards, so it embodies morality. In contrast, the rebellious lion may be perceived as immoral due to its defiance of these norms. The child, however, won't identify with this conventional distinction between moral and immoral. The child transcends this dichotomy, residing in the realm of amorality. It neither conforms nor rebels. Instead, the child forges a path guided by its authentic values and unburdened by societal expectations. Simply put, as Nietzsche would have called it, the child goes beyond good and evil. The child goes beyond the limits of conventional morality. As a powerful symbol, the child represents the ultimate evolution of spirit according to Nietzsche's philosophy. Through playful and creative pursuits, the child becomes a bridge linking man to the Overman. When we think of Zarathustra, we often picture an old wise sage with a long beard, embodying a prophetic figure. However, Nietzsche portrayed him differently. He says how changed Zarathustra is. Zarathustra has become a child, an awakened one. Nietzsche encourages us to imagine Zarathustra as a playful creator, who embodies the traits of a child. He is a creator who forges new values and new ways of living. I find this concept extremely practical because anyone can start applying it immediately in their lives. To begin, you should examine your life and determine which stage you're in. It's important to be honest with yourself during this analysis, as it will serve as the foundation of all your future progress. If you start by lying to yourself, you'll never be able to accurately measure your growth. You need to determine whether you're the obedient camel who accepts everything as truth without question, or the defiant lion who opposes everything and is defined solely by his rebellion. Understanding your current position in life is an initial and crucial step towards choosing to think independently and living an authentic life. It requires much more than conforming or opposing the norms of society. It's about creating your own path and living a life that is truly your own. Regardless of your age, you should embrace the opportunity to think for yourself and lead a life that is uniquely yours. Allow yourself to be curious and approach things with the innocence of a child. Choose an activity that feels like play and follow your curiosity like a child would. Experiment new things, gain new experiences, and observe the outcomes. Sometimes, as adults, we tend to be too concerned about what others might think of us. This mindset can prevent us from engaging in activities that we otherwise might enjoy. When children play, they do so with creativity, curiosity, and innocence, without worrying about what others might think of them. So it's really important to embody the same spirit. Take some time for yourself, sit down, and meditate on who you are as a person, without worrying about society's norms and expectations. Remember, you have nothing to lose. If you don't enjoy it, you can always stop and go back to conformity, and there is nothing wrong about that. But if you discover something valuable about yourself that was hindered because of society's expectations, it could enrich and perhaps even change the course of your life. Think about that. Thank you for watching.